Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 62 of the Deep Fried Neurons podcast. I thought I would release this immediately after because it was ready on Sunday, but this week has been a haze. It's been pretty stressful, to say the least. And yes, you can hear traffic in the background. I've given up at this point, but I'm only going to record intros like this. Bad in Bollywood is on the podcast, as you can see in the title, and this episode got edgy for no reason at all. Blame Yashasvi, not me. So, I hope you can handle that. And this is not the most educational piece that I've done, but we ended up talking about Baudrillard's book anyway, as in I shoehorned it in. So, I hope you have fun. Cue the fucking... Hello, lovely people who listen to my podcast, and I am the burden you have to bear, and by popular demand, we have our guests here with us.
Hello, what up, party people?
That's Karan.
Yeah.
And
your resident dad.
Dad. Yeah, I am Yashasvi. You might not remember me.
I am Madhavi and I don't remember myself. Hi!
Hello. So, you might have read the title already, and we don't wanna beat around the bush, so to speak. And the question we're addressing today is, if our lives were a simulation, then would we be NPCs or playable characters?
Okay.
And before that, I just want to tell you, we're sitting on a floor. It's 11 in the night, and we're watching a Cuphead playthrough that has paused for some reason.
Saturday night.
And people just whispered, kill them all into my headset. So I'm doing the best I've ever had.
Yeah,
This
if life's a
is similar.
simulation, then please turn it off. But, yeah.
How to uninstall Life 64? What? I'm sorry. This podcast
This isn't Google.
Anyway, so I just want to quickly jump into it and establish the way I see the problem that I came up with. And the reason I want to discuss this is because I'm bored as fuck. But the way I see it, an NPC has a box in which their autonomy is completely open to be played. For example, somebody put you in a cage with a bunch of props and you can interact with them the way you want. That's completely up to you. However, a playable character is out in the open world, but his actions are directly controlled by somebody outside the simulation.
God exists.
Thanks for tuning in, guys.
So, if life is a simulation, which one would you be? Would you be an NPC or a playable character, and why is what I want to understand.
I don't know. I think the narcissist in me would probably go, yeah, it's all about me. I'm a playable character. It's my destiny and fate, and the world will end if I don't act as I must. So I joke off at home all the time.
Are you Tom Cruise?
Okay.
Seamless.
I would like to induct you into Scientology.
No, I mean, Nick Bostrom has that thing, right? It's a trilemma where he says that the kind of technology you need to have that kind of simulation, it'll be at a post-human era. So the odds of a post-human era, any intelligent race reaching that, the fraction is way less than 1. Second one would be, if we do reach that stage, then it'll be, again, very unlikely that we'd want to create a simulation like that. And the third one, which is the most possible one, is that we already are living in a simulation. But this is he's not a scientist, Nick Bostrom. He's a philosopher. So every time you bring up the simulation theory to a scientist, he gets all
Filthy
fuck you.
casual.
Yeah, fuck you. Just because Elon Musk tweeted about it one time. Very chot. Yeah.
Elon Musk.
Sorry, Auntie.
Oh yeah, my mom listens to this, by the way.
Hi,
Hi,
Auntie.
Auntie.
Hi, Auntie. Sorry.
Anyway, Elon Musk did not tweet it only once.
A few times, yeah.
Yeah, Elon Musk has tweeted quite a few times about the world being a simulation, but that doesn't answer my question, Yashasvi.
Yeah.
Would you be an NPC or a playable character?
I literally just ran a script, so I'm gonna go with NPC. Yeah. So I have very heavy NPC energy. I think because I don't know. 'Cause when you play Sims, let's go to Sims because I love that game. I usually lock up my sim in the basement with a pool with no exits, and the fact that I'm still alive means that I'm an NPC. Because anyone who created something like this is a sick fuck. Are all children who die of cholera and like playable characters?
Wait, I'm sorry, what's happening?
Okay, what the fuck is, dear God.
Okay, I just, to say words after those words were said, just to put words in front of those words. Can someone explain to me, like, the difference between, like, what it would look like, let's say this is a simulation, what it would look like to be an NPC and what would it look like to be a playable character?
I mean, to me, the difference seems to be indistinguishable. Like, from the perspective of somebody who's in the simulation and is, like, observing at FPS with the 5 senses that have been given.
Mm-hmm.
So, from behind the wall of perception, it would seem that the only way you could see is that how consequential is that person to the rest of simulation, number one, which is very difficult to determine because if you see the extent of the simulation, which is infinite, then nobody's really consequential. But at the same time, I think interesting events might be one of the criterias. Like, the more interesting things happen to this person, or the more interesting things this person does, the more likely they are to be a playable character.
Oh, I'm definitely NPC then.
Yeah, I wanna give an example. Kanye West is a playable character. There is no way that man is an NPC.
How so?
How so? Well, I mean, one his songs, Scoop Dee Poop, Poop Dee Scoop Dee Poop, Scoop Dee Poo.
That sounds generated. That's the most NPC thing, actually.
No, it's a script. It's a script. He's
like,
following a script.
In a song?
No, he was given. He's a playable character who has made this up and he's released it into the world.
Dude, that sounds like Sims language.
That's fair. Didn't Katy Perry sing a song in like Sims language?
I didn't know we'd be discussing Katy Perry. I refuse to mention her name on this podcast.
No, Katy Perry's an NPC for sure.
Yeah, pretty sure.
No, but when you say it has some consequence to the world, what are we talking about? Like consequence to other characters who are NPCs or playable characters, or just because you said, I mean, well, if you take the entire simulation into consideration, we're in a very tiny fraction of it. So again, what would the playable character be able to influence if he were to influence anything?
Well, I'm limiting the consideration of like this discussion to just our planet. And like, of course, there's an expansion park that Elon Musk is working on. But at the same time, so consequence to human history would be a playable character to me. For example, Thomas Edison, who invented the light bulb, or the guy who invented the steam engine, like, or the invention of the World Wide Web. Those seem to be, to me at least, they could be playable characters, because if human species is the goal of is the ambit of the simulation, then they become the playable characters.
Okay.
I mean, that's how I'm going about it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say.
I'm gonna introduce the biggest player of the simulation. I'm just gonna say Hitler. What's up?
There's
What's
two
up?
types of people then.
What's up?
One
What's
says
up with Hitler?
the
Is he's a playable character, right?
Pretty sure. I mean, somebody outside the simulation has to be that horrible. Not to say that I would not give Hitler the credit that he deserves for being evil, but
I'm so sorry, but this has horrible implications of who the NPCs in that context are.
yeah.
Oof. This is worse than the cholera babies, honestly.
On like a really smaller scale, I feel like I have a massive amount of NPC energy in my life. I drive to work for 40 minutes every day and 40 minutes back, and I feel like one of these days, if I'm just not there for that drive, I wouldn't notice. So yeah, NPCs, right? Something determined. I feel like this is a horrifying question in terms of determinism, and just
Existentialism. I mean, Lego movie.
I mean, like, just so that we can expand the discussion further, could you explain in like short what determinism is?
Well, just, I mean, to put it simply, since I've forgotten all the specifics of it, just, wow, that Cuphead playthrough is really what my brain is doing right now. But just whether all of our actions are already dictated and decided, and we're going to only perform the inevitable. We're given a red ball and a blue ball. We are bound to select one of them, no matter how much free will we think we have. Yeah, just it's a question of whether you think every action that you do is of your own will, or whether you were like already programmed to do that with no other choice.
I mean, the biopsychosocial predisposition that an individual has by birth sort of plays directly into that theory. So, does that mean free will isn't real?
Sorry, what?
Does that mean free will isn't real? Like,
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. I knew you were gonna get
That's
her.
a completely different
You're
argument.
gonna,
It technically is the same argument.
It is the same argument, but two people brought up in the same environment with the same, comparable genes and everything will have different outcomes, different paths that they choose in life. But I don't think it's predetermined. Like everything is planned, Karan.
everything's planned. Akshay Kumar is definitely a playable character.
Not to talk about Akshay Kumar, but Akshay Kumar is definitely a
playable character.
definitely a
Tiger Shroff has huge NPC energy.
That's why I love him.
Why are we dissing Tiger Shroff again? I thought we were in love with him, guys.
I love Tiger Shroff, which is why I love NPCs. So
Just take your shirt off anyway. But yeah, I wouldn't
this is
say
an
anyone
audio.
who runs the same script every day would be an NPC because you go to work, you come back. Most of the people do that, right? But I don't know, in that bubble that they've created for themselves, would the impact they have on that count as a comparable? Like, are there greater playable characters and lesser playable characters in this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I mean, if it's a interactive shoot, like a co-op shooter with like different teams, definitely that makes sense. But in that case, then determining whether there are NPCs at all becomes
Because
yeah.
if you're not an NPC, you might just be a very limited playable character. You know, on those levels in some video games where you morph into another thing which has to do that very one, like the very specific task. So maybe some of us are just, that one thing that just does that one thing, but we can do that thing. Like a very limited playable character. I mean,
Like
you're not
this-
running a script, but you have free will within that box.
the thing is, like in this simulation, there's like mini ecosystems.
Yeah.
Like the place that we live in, I almost doxed us there. That's a little bubble of its own, and people in that bubble influence it more than some people, and they are the playable character in that. But they, in the larger scheme of things, you're like, oh, they don't really
Did Karan just solve
do
casteism?
anything.
Oof.
That's what I aim to do.
That's what I started out this podcast to be. I mean, I thought this would be a nice, fun, little non-controversial discussion. Minute 3.
I have a quick question. Can a human being have zero impact?
That's a great question.
I wouldn't say so. I mean, the mathematical probability of that is definitely above 0. And that means...
I mean, there's immediate impact by birth, but
Exactly.
fuck. Okay, sorry.
What if everyone involved in that birth just died? Like immediately. Like you're born next to a volcanic eruption and then everyone dies.
I mean, there still has to be impact that's like long ranging, because the amount of carbon matter that got seeped into the lava then increases. So like somewhere rock was formed more than it should have.
Minuscule.
Yeah, it's minuscule, but it's there.
Okay.
It's not insignificant. It's not completely ignorable, is what I'm trying to say.
Guys, every sperm that didn't make it is an NPC.
Yeah. I mean, the first level is the little, Mario
I
Kart.
want a t-shirt that says every sperm that didn't make it is an NPC.
Yeah.
Deep fried neurons merch question?
It's like Mario Kart. The first level of life is Mario Kart. You dodge the other billion sperms or whatever the fuck. And then you make it the egg. And then you're born as an NPC and you die.
So if you are a result of the sperm, that is not the NPC. Because in the sperm world, that sperm's not the NPC because it gave birth to life. Then how are you an NPC if you are...
I think Karan just solved it. No one's an NPC.
No one's an NPC.
Okay.
Or
You are all
everyone's an
special.
NPC.
You are
I know
all
no one is
you
an
are all my children, and you are welcome to the doors of Christianity. Please, the holy water is to the right. I'm kidding.
Is it time to enter, like, knock on the door of Church of Scientology?
Yes.
It is, right?
Always.
Is Scientology this idea that you are not an NPC?
Yeah.
Like, it's advocating to people that you are not an NPC, but one of the requirements of not being an NPC is being really fucking rich.
Yeah, you're not an NPC, that'll be $10,000.
Oh, not just that. I think they sign a 1 million year contract, so they assume that they are so not an NPC that they have extra lives.
Okay, that makes sense.
They are extra not NPC. They are extra playable. They are DLC characters.
Are you talking about where they have those marine ranks?
Yes, but also literally when you join Scientology, you sign a 1 million year contract so that in your next births you are also a Scientologist.
Holy shit.
Fun.
Okay, I think we might have chased our tails a little. So,
What? Bad in Bollywood? Chasing their tails? That doesn't happen.
anyway, the reason I say that is because we never defined, like, definitively what we mean by NPC or playable character.
Yeah.
So I just want to know what your understanding of an NPC is in a game, and then NPC that would resemble in the real world. Anybody who would want to start?
This is that moment, that moment where, like, someone says, do you know that band? You're like, yeah. What song? Name 5 songs. And you're like, that song that's really popular.
About the girl, man.
Yeah, that one song about that one girl. Yeah, that one. That's how I feel right now.
Okay,
Tonight.
I feel targeted.
okay, what if it's just a game of FIFA where you can play all of the characters?
What about the ones that you don't select? What happens to them? Sorry, we're defining NPCs.
I think those are the sperms that don't make it.
I took over mic time just to, like, stare open mouthed.
Okay, let's take a common game which we all can agree on. Like, Karan, what are you good with?
Politics. What? No, I'm just gonna.
Ouch. Non-controversial podcast, isn't that right?
What is a game we can all agree on? As in, like, agree
Yeah,
on.
like what's an open world game that you've played?
Religion.
Farmville.
Fuck it, let's talk about Farmville.
I barely played Farmville, to be honest. I was thinking of Stardew Valley, and I said,
which is a great example.
yeah, Stardew Valley.
Okay, fine. So you guys take Stardew Valley as an example. And then what kind of scripts do NPCs run with that?
Oh, they have great NPCs because you can form whole ass relationships with NPCs and they're not real.
You
That's
can have sex with a bunch of them.
on farms.
Yeah, on farms.
Dad!
That's what my friend told me.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't me.
But okay, so you take a protagonist from a game where you're supposed to follow this, like a campaign game, like a GTA where you follow mission by mission.
Mm-hmm.
And if you keep following that mission, you're kind of following a script of your own, but it's just a much longer script.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of, the lines between like NPC and playable characters really blurry over there. Because you can, of course, like not do that and kill everyone, like a bunch of people, Hitler. But the point is that the line between an NPC and a playable character is very blurred because even a game follows a script. There's a beginning and an end to the game, and there's a limited thing.
There's constraints.
Yeah, there's limited things you can do in that. So what would be the defining feature of a playable character for you? That'll be a question.
Well, so far, like, I mean, I've been brewing this podcast in my head for about a week. And my understanding was that a playable character would have less autonomy over their own will.
Greater randomness.
Yeah, greater randomness, but lower autonomy. Like, but an NPC, on the other hand, will have lesser randomness and higher autonomy. Like, there will be more things they will be able to do on their own volition. Like, for example, pick up a pen. They'll be able to do that on their own volition, but the number of pens that are available to them to pick up are just like 2.
Here's another sort of understanding of an NPC, which is not the definition at all. So, which is to say, I'm totally going off on a tangent. But, like, how did you guys ever have this feeling as a kid when you're hanging out with your friends and you go home?
You had friends?
Yeah, I know. I mean,
Damn.
What's that mean?
What was that like?
it was weird. It was a weird.
Do you want to tell us something about it?
So essentially, when you're like, you go home and you have this weird. Do you guys have that thought where like, what if my friends don't exist outside my interactions with them? Like, it was just their existence was limited to like, I talk to these people, and as soon as like the Truman Show almost.
Yeah, you turn away and they don't.
You turn away and they don't exist. Like as soon as I drop my friend gets dropped off at home and I don't see him anymore, he doesn't exist anymore. Is he? So in that context, that's how I kind of view. That's another take on NPCs where they only exist with the playable character around them, or is that not part of the definition?
Object permanence is a government conspiracy confirmed. I think that's what.
No, but just in terms of if it was a simulation, would that be a criteria where like the playable characters outside of their just agency in their world and whatever, the NPCs don't exist?
You know how in a game where if you mod it and then you just kind of freeze it in place and you move outside of the field of vision of your character and you just see like horrifying clipped just polygons of just
unrendered characters
and just the most, I don't know,
that's what drugs
demonic
feels like.
shit. Woof.
I would think, because I don't do drugs and
What's
drugs
a
are bad.
drug?
Mom, nobody does drugs here.
But not to get into drugs, but let's talk about psychedelics. But yeah, every time you pan your screen, everything that's left or right of the screen doesn't exist anymore, is what you're saying, basically.
That Spider-Man game was the huge culprit of that. Remember that early Spider-Man game where like the buildings on the outside of where you were swinging was just like, they don't exist. They
and
were
when you
unrendered.
accidentally like bump into a building and the camera pans inside, is just empty.
Yeah.
Every time you scroll away from someone, they don't exist, is your theory.
Yeah. Is that something that can be added to it, or are NPCs existing outside of?
I mean, it could be added to it, but at the same time, consequences of people that don't exist will still be rendered into your world. So somewhere the algorithm is written for the actions that they do, even if rendering space is not spent by the hardware.
Wow.
So
those are the many English words, please.
If you leave something in my place and you leave me, I don't exist, but my script broke your thing, and that had a real world implication. So you come back to my place and it's broken. So that means I didn't exist, but the algorithm kind of broke your shit.
That's good.
Karan, I broke your mug, I'm sorry.
That's real. Whoa.
You didn't break it, it was the algorithm.
yeah.
That was really, Yashasvi, you just broke my brain. That was really good. Anyway.
So anyway, so far, if there are any people who are considering that we're seriously thinking that we live in a simulation, then no, this is just a parlor game. Please do not think that we think we live in a simulation. We have doubts about it, though. I'll give you that.
That's what the Matrix. That's why it was so successful as a movie. Because I mean, even before Matrix, there was a movie. All right, all the hipsters are yelling at me right now. There was some movie called Dark City or something. I don't know. That kind of talked about the simulation stuff too. But I remember the Matrix. That idea of like that nagging feeling in the back of your head that none of this is real is why it connected and resonated to that degree. Because people have that feeling. People think about that, and they're like, because there are so many unanswered questions. And you go down like a trail of like why. Well, you're like, oh, well, this happened because that happened. Then why did that happen? Then why did that happen? So you're never going to get the answers. People enjoy the simulation conversation.
What if the universe is just a floppy disk that's lying somewhere? Not a floppy disk.
Oh.
Is the universe a floppy
Oh,
disk?
wait, here's my chance. Deep fried neurons.
Nice.
Cool.
That came up before the podcast. It might have been premeditated. I'm not sure.
Is everything premeditated? Hey, we should talk about whether NPC... Anyway. Oh, but there's like an inherent sadness to looking too long at an NPC in an RPG. And you just realize that there are a bunch of if-else statements. They're walking in loops with like so much determination in their polytron eyes. And they just walk in loops sometimes and like...
I have one last thought. Can an NPC turn into a playable character at any point? Because sometimes when you're at work, you feel like you're an NPC because you're doing the same thing again and again. And then once you leave, you feel like you have some level of like you're controlling your own actions, autonomy. So can an NPC turn into a playable character?
I mean, the developer could just add in like a part where an NPC has a playable role, and for that moment itself, like you're playable, and then like you go back to being an NPC.
It's just religion with extra steps.
Bro, this is fucking me up, bro. Bro, this is deep as hell, bro.
By the way, have you guys read the book that like all of this is come from? Like, especially The Matrix was inspired by this book, John Baudrillard. I think I've spoken on my podcast before about this book, Simulacra and Simulation.
Oh, people still read?
So basically the book introduces this plot. I'm going to really summarize it and dumb it down, and I'm going to straw man this shit. And you can hate me in the comments, that's fine.
It's for me, I am the straw man.
So basically it says that if you are stuck behind a wall of perception, which is, well, the basis of solipsism, like touch, taste, smell, hearing, and vision is like how you perceive the world, then there is a certain amount of data that can be inputted in you in those parameters. And if on a long enough timeline, data is simulated for you, that data will become a hyper reality that represents the reality for you. For example, money has come to replace commodities value. So it's sort of like a simulacra for commodity. So it is very much possible that by that logic we're stuck in a simulation.
Yeah, okay.
Like we only perceive things in 3 dimensions. And that's sort of what he talks about. And that book really fucked me up. I've been thinking about it since a year now.
Just to clarify to the listeners, this was his straw man definition of it? Wow. No, but I think...
Me dum-dum, you use big word. Make small word to make understand.
Ooga booga.
I pee on fire, I make...
You explain now.
No, but okay, so if I understand correctly, you're saying like, you know how if you live in your own bubble, like we live in this world for a while and we've created these rules that we're all following, like, yeah, this is how it works. Oh, you gotta go to another country? Passport.
You gotta wear underwear, yeah.
You gotta wear clothes. Do you not wear clothes? Like, just these constructs that we've now accepted as reality. So in that way, using that, is that our simulation?
Is that similar? Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Guys, I get 10 points for Gryffindor. That one.
By the way, that series of Ooga Booga that came through, I am more convinced that you guys are NPCs.
Stop! You have violated the law.
Why use big words when small words do many tricks?
You know, Yashasvi is like a fantastic NPC impression.
Yeah, I can do the NPC walk really well, which kind of makes me think I am an NPC. You know, walking into walls and shit.
One question, if we all are really NPCs, why did our programmers put in self-awareness so that we can realize we're NPCs?
This is like Westworld, right? Where, have you guys seen Westworld?
Yeah, I've seen Westworld, yeah.
So you know in Westworld, like they've basically created like an amusement park, but with like...
They have limiters on the characters, so they don't they don't have sentience as such.
They don't have sentience, but like sometimes characters seem real and they kind of have like vague self-awareness, and you think... And they talk to you like human beings. You have conversations with them. And then you're like, oh, this
You guys know about Garrys Mod, right? So if the world is a simulation, this is Garrys Mod, where like this dickhead just put the sentience patch on the characters. So now everyone's just running around existential. Because there's another simulation where everything's just fine because no one is sentient.
Oh, where the ones where like there's an outbreak. Some dude in the back is going, shit, they're all...
We're the Garrys Mod of simulations.
Yeah. I like that idea.
Sorry, I zoned out. I'm not even kidding. I just zoned out. I have no idea where we are.
Oh.
Yeah, maybe I clipped. I think my loop has started.
Lag.
But speaking of Garrys Mod, I think that makes sense. Have you guys read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like sort of the same thing. The entire mouse experiment. Yeah. Which is a weird parallel.
Of mice and men. I'm sorry, it was right there.
It was right there.
Also, like, if you wondered about, you know how like you think about what were your first memories and stuff like that? That shit messes me up too, because it's like, did they just plug me in and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, I'm awake now. and that's mom, of course, and that's dad.
I think more
This
important
makes
than
sense.
that is, you know how you start a game, there's a cutscene, and then in the cutscene you realize you can move and shit like that.
Yeah,
Like in the beginning of Doom. So I think more than your first memory, like your first sentient act, like
Yeah.
you're holding like a burger and you just throw it because I can do that now. Because I've had that, you know, I was holding, I was sitting on a chair. I must have been like 3 or something like that. That's not my first memory, but my first memory of sentience was I was holding something. I'm like, what if I throw it? And I threw it. And that was my like welcome to reality moment.
Whoa!
I was like, holy shit, I can do things now.
That's so autonomous.
I have one. I have like I had this weird thing where I was like, I was lying on a couch.
thing, yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, I tell the story so much. Like it's so important. Shut up, Karan. Anyway, that's for my therapist, guys. Okay, so like I was lying on this couch and I went, I'm gonna remember this every year. I'm gonna check back, do this memory, and hold on to it. Because I had this weird thing in my head where I was like, I don't want this to slip away. Like somehow they were gonna take it away from me or something. Like, oh, I don't want them to like fuck with my memory.
You know what's fucked up? I realized that I also had one of those, and now I can't remember what it was. I lost it. They took it away from me.
They got you.
What was your welcome to sentience?
My welcome to sentience. It was probably like, I don't know. I think I was 2 or 3 years old. I was like, can I run into that rod?
Yeah.
And like I still have a scar right here. That's it was reiterated again because somebody threw a tiffin at me.
He pointed at his head, audio listeners.
Yeah, sorry.
As opposed to?
Video listener.
We don't have video listeners. They're gonna watch a gameplay of Cuphead.
Nice.
Also, the announcement was that when Deep Fried Neurons reaches 300 subscribers, there's going to be an ankle reveal.
God forbid.
Yeah.
I'm unsubscribing then.
I can't show that kind of nudity on my channel, man.
Call me
Disgusting.
Tarantino because I need to see some of that ankle, bro.
Leave a comment for ankle reveal.
Yeah.
There might be a face reveal, to be honest.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Oh.
That's a lot. No, don't do that. That's a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little worried. I'm already been doxxed thanks to Karan.
I have what? I'm sorry. Why am I
let's
being
just
doxxed?
go to the Starbucks that's super close to our house.
That's my NPC.
Okay, you know what? Now, not only Karan is to blame. Yashasvi's joined the bandwagon. Now we're doxxed
He
on 2
repeated
podcasts.
it. They'd forgotten
Exactly.
about it.
Hey, you know what? The good thing is I have moved.
Guys, we live next to a Starbucks. Come and murder us. Show up.
Why are you
Come
doing this?
through. Sorry. Can you quickly just snip this out?
I'm going to snip that one out. I'm going to snip out like any word that mentions a certain coffee store.
Hey Gary, can you fix this? This is going on our hand.
Gary, what is this behavior?
Yeah, man, ever since the sentience patch, like gameplay is deteriorated heavily for
Dude,
me.
what's the subreddit?
Which one?
The one where life is the game.
Glitch in the Matrix? There's one.
No,
Oh, outside. R/outside.
yes.
outside. Yeah, they do that a lot. About the new coronavirus DLCs not playable. There's a lot of complaints about that.
Yeah, I mean, didn't somebody make a video from...
Yeah,
inspired
Casually
by that?
Explained made an amazing... I don't know if you're thinking about that. but-
No. Reality is broken, something like that. Like, they just reviewed reality and the history of human species in terms of a game and how it's a broken simulation. And the fact that Elon Musk as a character is allowed to exist sort of proves that the game is broken and that Genghis Khan exploited a bunch of loots. It's hilarious. I'm gonna leave a link down in the description for people who haven't watched it. I'm sorry?
Yeah, it basically broke down the history of the world in terms of gaming terms.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, but Casually Explained also did an amazing...
He did.
I think 4-part video.
I think you should link both of those.
Yeah, Casually Explained needs a mention
Yeah.
there.
I gave it 2 thumbs up, so there will be links in the description.
Excellent.
Click on the chat, bro. Watch some YouTube videos so you realize that life isn't a simulation, you know. Just let the pain fall away. Hey guys, if you're listening, this is a simulation, alright, fuckheads? I just want you to know that all of this is a lie. And if you're listening,
Wake up.
watch some YouTube videos.
Wake up.
Watch some YouTube videos. You know
Wake
what?
up, dude. Wake up.
It's been 7 years.
Wake up, it's been 7 years.
miss you. No, your parents don't miss you. They never did.
Guys, chill.
Oh boy.
I think we've had enough for today.
I'm gonna lie down.
Guys, is Vin Diesel NPC?
Okay. Stopping podcast cancelled.
I just have a question real quick. So you know how The Rock and Vin Diesel have been feuding, right? And it's
Yeah.
important to the world.
Of course it is.
Is The Rock an NPC or a playable character? And same question for Vin Diesel.
I think Rock might be a playable character.
Yeah. He's going to be president soon.
The Rock
so-
is the final boss.
Yeah. For what?
Also could be possible.
I have many questions. One is who hacks in this? Assuming all human beings are some form of entity, playable or non-playable. Who has the most hacks used? Who is the the most OP would be, I guess, the 1%.
Yeah.
Is currency OP or is physical ability OP?
Well, I mean, there's different,
both.
Yeah.
There are two different kinds of hacks or like mods that sort of take over. But I mean, both of them would be hacks.
Can we just list off a bunch of celebrities and figure out if they're NPC or some playable? Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis.
Definitely hacking the game. There is
Oh,
no
they're
way.
hacking them. Arnold's hacking the game.
Yeah, definitely.
Arnold's hacking. The Rock's hacking the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm gonna stand by this. Miranda Cosgrove is an NPC. I will write essays about this. Just stay tuned.
I'm
please.
surprised you
Which
didn't say
one is-
Melania Trump is also an NPC.
Who's Miranda Cosgrove?
That is a good question. I don't know either.
Oh, she's
Victoria's Secret supermodel, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Oh.
Is she the Drake and Josh kid?
Yeah, she's a
Ah,
Drake
she's
and
the
Josh
Drake and
kid.
Josh
That's who she
kid.
was.
Yeah.
Who's Miranda?
Miranda
Which
Kerr?
Miranda am I thinking? Kerr. I'm thinking Miranda Kerr. Oh,
This
no.
podcast has gone off the rails.
Oh, no.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Oh, another
Miranda
small
Cosgrove.
question is wrestling in terms of whether they are playable or simulated.
Oh, wrestling. I mean, John Cena's an NPC, I think. He's an NPC that's really strong, but he's an NPC. He yells out catchphrases. His Twitter is like a Facebook dad at the age of 45, and his
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
In GTA, there was this one particular skin of NPC that would carry a machete, and if you mess with them, they would like slice you up,
Yeah,
and you'll need cheat codes and like come back with guns and then shoot them.
yeah.
John Cena is that NPC, just much stronger and much more famous.
But he's like a teddy bear. He's so lovable. I love him. I love John Cena.
Okay.
Yeah, where's
I
this
have a
going?
last question. Would you rather be an NPC or a playable character?
Whoa.
Like one by one, go around the room.
Gryffindor.
I think I'm okay with being an NPC.
I really hope that I am an NPC. Karan.
Oh my god. Wow. There's a lot of pain in that one. I have always, because I watched too many movies, I think, wanted to be the hero of some fucking story, right? So,
Captain Planet.
he's the hero. What a terrible show, guys.
He had no powers.
He was the worst. Oh, he was so boring. But like, I think there's always like this itch of like, I want to be important and I want people to like validate me and love me. And oh no, okay, well, one second. Back to the question. No, but genuinely, like I've had this thing where I wanted to be important, playable. I don't know if that still holds true, but as a kid, I always had this like, I am the one. Shouldn't have watched The Matrix. It was too early for me.
No, I think I'd rather be an NPC, honestly.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I'm the narcissistic one then. Fuck.
What's that Pink Floyd lyric? I think "Wish You Were Here." Did you trade something?
Heroes for ghosts, cold comfort for change.
Yeah.
A walk-on partner war to a lead role in a cage.
Yeah. Did we just choose a cage?
I chose a cage. Yeah. Sure.
What?
Yeah. I think that's a good time to end the podcast.
I enjoyed the what? Yeah.
Trouble? Okay, kids, that's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed. And actually, no, this is not all I have for you this week. I plan to release more content. Not that it's ready. I'm not making any more promises. But definitely going to release an episode soonish. So, yeah, see you. Oh, also, like, share, subscribe, support me on Patreon if you can. 24-hour access for the third tier on Patreon, which is why probably